What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Be That Guy podcast. My name is DJ Ligori, and today on this episode, I interview my good friend Kailey McCafferty. And we talk about the world famous ick that women get from time to time from men. And guys, you're not going to want to miss what Kailey says about this, because these are things that we are going to want to avoid so that we can build healthy and strong relationships moving forward. We also talk about the attractive things that guys do that we might not think are attractive that actually help us. And the last thing that we talk about Kailey actually explains the number one thing that men can do to ultimately be that guy for women. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. See ya.
Okay.
What is the ick?
Oh, okay. It's like a guy gives you a feeling that is just, you can't get rid of it. Like he does something that is like, I don't like you anymore. He does something either embarrassing. I don't want to say embarrassing, but like, it's a feeling for a girl or a guy, I guess, but like it's a feeling you can't shake.
Really?
Yeah.
So, do you remember the phone call that we had about the ick?
Yeah.
All right, so for the people listening, can you explain the phone call that we had?
I think I asked you if guys get the ick.
If guys get the ick.
Right? Like,
Yes.
I think that's what I asked.
And do you remember what I said?
No.
So, it was during the hurricane.
Did you even know what the ick was?
I had like a very minor understanding of it because I had learned about it probably about 4 or 5 months prior to you calling me.
That's epic.
I was fairly fresh to the ick. And when you called me, you were like, do guys get the ick? And I was like, oh, there's that term again that I heard some other girl ask me about. And so I was like, well, I don't think guys get the ick. I said, I think we get more of like, whoa.
Yeah. They get whoa.
Yeah, we just are just kind of like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Like, that was interesting. That raises a red flag. I don't like that. Like, I wouldn't say like, because personally, I don't look at girls as like icky. I look at like guys more as like icky, where girls I'd just be like, whoa, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think you were like, yeah, it wouldn't deter me from like not talking to that person again though.
Yeah, I think I said I would need like more, I would need more whoa moments.
Yeah.
to like fully like push myself away.
But we had talked about like even with my sister later on about once you get the ick, at least from a girl's perspective, it's like, no, we're done. No more.
You guys are just one and done?
One ick, one and done.
So you only let guys have one ick?
But it's like a big moment. It's a big feeling.
Really? That's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Do you have examples of getting the ick? Without absolutely torturing the poor guy?
I think I had asked you because I had a specific example. Like I had.
Oh, it just happened to you? You were recently
I had recently gotten the ick.
Can you? All right. Tell me what had happened with this poor guy.
I can't even remember what the ick was specifically, but I definitely have I have examples. Like, oh, let me think of a good one, man. Let's see. I get the ick a lot though.
Maybe you're the problem.
I could be the problem. Recently, I probably could be the problem.
You're a fragile icker.
Yeah, I am. Let's see. I remember exactly what it was.
This poor guy.
I'm not like an all-day communicator. Okay. Like I don't need to communicate all day, like my whereabouts, what I'm doing, like how you are, like especially if I know I'm gonna like hang out with you later.
Yeah.
Like I don't need that, and I really hate that. I actually don't love that. Mm-hmm. So I had gotten the ick because this individual had reached out incredibly upset that I hadn't been texting them and offended that I wouldn't respond. But I had been at work. And I'm like, I'm busy. I'm not to pull the nurse card, but I am a nurse at the bedside. I don't use my phone at work, especially when I'm busy. It's like, I'm going to see you later.
Yeah.
I don't communicate all day, especially if I'm at work.
Now, did he know that?
Which part?
That, hey, during the day, I have a busy schedule and I'm not going to be texting you all day. And frankly, I don't want to talk all day because I completely agree with that. I'd rather not text all day because I'm doing things.
Yeah.
I'd rather maybe have like a phone call like when I'm done.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah. I think I had been open about the fact that I don't use my phone at work. I don't know that we had gotten to the point where I had communicated my preferences on communication.
Yeah.
It was very fresh. And he moved a lot quicker than I had moved. So we just hadn't gotten there. But at that point, I needed to say what I needed to say. Like, I don't communicate the way you communicate, or I don't communicate as often as you'd like to communicate.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind checking in with you if we need to meet halfway to do that. But like, at the end of the day, when I'm at work, that's just not possible. So like, you need to meet me halfway for that.
I think that's a very important thing when it comes to relationships, is like defining like, hey, this is what I'm expecting from a communication standpoint.
Yeah.
Right? Because I might want to say, hey, I'm going to text you every hour to make sure how you're doing. And you might be like, that's going to give me the ick.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I need to know that up front.
Yeah. Like, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about all day?
You think about like back in high school when you had like your first boyfriend, first girlfriend. It's like, I'm texting you like every like 10, 15 minutes. I think about that and I'm like, how the hell did we do that?
Right.
Like, how did we have things to constantly talk about?
It's boring.
Yeah.
It's boring. And then what do we talk about when we're hanging out?
Exactly. It's like we already talked the whole day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never even thought of that until I started like thinking more about like the importance of defining what does the communication look like between us. And I thought about like in high school or even in college, when you were with somebody, we were talking like a lot.
Yeah.
You really get to know somebody pretty fast.
Yeah.
Which is wild. So, all right. So the ick is just this feeling.
Yeah. It's a big feeling.
It's a big feeling. And it's a fast cutoff after the ick.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten the ick and kept going with the guy?
Recently, probably. I would say more recently, I've tried to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Getting a little kinder over there, Kay.
I've tried, but I feel like I know myself enough to be like, this is or is not going to work. Yeah. Because I don't just get the ick like, oh, you did something in public and that grossed me out, or like that was a deal breaker, or that violated a boundary of mine. Like, it would be something that truly like had to violate one of my like core boundaries or like values. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, no, I just can't continue on.
Yeah. So the ick is like that final thing where it's like, this is the last brick, right?
Yeah.
Here. Okay. That's important for, I think, guys to know when it's like if a girl is ever like, you gave me the ick, it's like, shit.
Yeah.
It's like, there it is. That's the final straw.
Yeah. And I think as you get older, that changes. Like, I think when I was probably in my early 20s, an ick was different than what it is now. Like, oh, you did something weird. Like, no, that's, I don't vibe with that. But today is a little bit different. Like, you violated, like I said, like you violated one of my core boundaries or values. Yeah. And we won't vibe on. Like, we can't continue a relationship. Yeah. We're just different.
We probably too, like in our late 20s, had more serious intentions too. So we're probably not willing to deal with a lot of things that are going to give us that type of feeling. Whereas earlier on, it might be like, oh, like maybe it was just like a one-time thing or just on accident, right? The intentions might change. So, all right. So the ick is the final straw.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good. That's important for, I think, guys to know. What would you say gives guys attraction points?
Probably vulnerability.
Ooh.
Yeah. Openness. And like their intent, at least initially. Like if I'm on a first date, I want to differentiate if your intent is to take me home and fuck me, or if you're genuinely trying to get to know me.
Yep.
And like play like a mind game. I don't know, like I feel like I've been on several first dates where it's like, oh, I'm playing a game to try and get to know you. They're very surface level questions like, oh, where are you from? What do you do? It's like, you're trying to get to know like the surface level me, but that's not really, that's like who I am day to day, not like the real me, like the deeper me. And then there's people who I've met who I like want to really get to know who I am as a human being, like what I like to do for fun or what I believe in and what's important to me. I think intent is a really big thing and that's attractive.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, so one of the things that you said, so you said intent, and then the other thing was vulnerability. I think that's interesting because I think a lot of guys believe that vulnerability is weakness and that women will not be attracted to guys who are vulnerable. And I think the reason is because we have different definitions of what being vulnerable means. Whereas as men, we've been raised to fix things, provide safety, provide security, and we can't show moments of what we believe is weakness. Whereas women, like, how do you view vulnerability?
Someone who is willing to share with me, just straight up share with me, isn't afraid to be themselves at the cost or at the risk of things not working out. Really, like there's always that chance that we don't vibe or like we're not a good match, but you don't know unless you try. But I think, I mean, me too, me included, it's just scary to get to know people because there's always that chance of rejection. And it's just hard to be vulnerable, especially even our later 20s. Most of us have had our hearts broken, and it's hard to get back out there and like open our hearts again and really get to know people. But if you're willing to do that, I feel like that's the strongest thing you can do. It's not weakness at all.
Is there a indicator of when you are willing to be vulnerable?
Me, myself?
Yeah, so like, because I think what you say is so important because I think we all have had moments where it's like, oh, I want to be a little guarded with this person first because I don't know their intentions, right? I don't know what they fully want, and I'm not going to fully open up and bare my soul yet because I don't want to get hurt. This is a self-defense thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to not be overly vulnerable too quickly.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? To like really actually develop a relationship with the person first, just get to know them, right? Develop some rapport and a little bit of connection. And then it's like, hey, like I'll really actually open up to you and tell you who I actually am.
Yeah.
Right? To see if you actually like me at my core with all my scars, my bruises, and my insecurities.
Yeah.
Right? So do you have like an indication that you see in guys when it's like, all right, like maybe I'm willing to be vulnerable with this guy or be really open with him?
Yeah. I consider myself probably one of the slowest burns.
Yeah.
So that's probably a hard question to answer. I mean, the simple answer is I just need time. Time to trust the individual, time to truly get to know them, their intentions, time to allow them to open up and reciprocate. I think if they reciprocate what I put out, that's huge. I'm probably not the first one to open up and be vulnerable. But I would just say the indication for me to be vulnerable is openness. If they're sharing with me, I share with them.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a give and take type of thing, right? If someone's being overly vulnerable, because one of the things I actually want to talk about is emotional availability, because I feel like that's this trendy word that I hear a lot of women say, hey, I want an emotionally available guy. And as men, we're probably like, hey, I don't want to show a lot of emotions. It's like, wow, we have a big disconnect here of what we think women might want versus what we are willing to give them.
Yeah.
Right. So I do think that there is some give and take with us remembering that we're human beings and we're all emotional beings. Right. One of my favorite lines is, we are emotional beings that think. We're not thinking beings that have emotions. Right. So talk to me about, what does it mean to be emotionally available as a guy?
Well, I think it has less to do with that's funny, because what I was just going to say was that I think it has less to do with always sharing your emotions with an individual and just being in tune with your emotions. Like I just said, I'm probably a slower bird, and I'm also someone who thinks a lot. I'm an overly analytical person, and so I need my time to reflect. But because I do that, I consider myself an emotionally available person because I constantly reflect on how I'm feeling. I do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of meditating. I think that helps me tune into my emotions. I think an emotionally available person is someone who is conscious of their feelings and others' feelings, socially aware, personally aware. It doesn't mean that they always have to share their emotions, but be aware that their feelings and actions also affect others.
Yeah, I think it probably correlates nicely to the term emotional intelligence, where understanding what I'm feeling and why I might be feeling that. And sometimes we don't know why we're feeling certain things. Emotions can get a little messy. And then also trying to better understand other people's emotions along the way, because if I can better understand how somebody might be feeling, I can probably change my behavior to better suit what they might need in that moment.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's me exercising my emotional intelligence, or my availability to be aware of my emotions.
Yeah.
Do you think a guy can be too emotionally available?
In what sense? I don't think so.
Like, I'm thinking about, because like, I think emotional availability can connect well to the term vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like authenticity, like showing who you truly are. Can I show, like if we're on like a first date, let's say,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like really pouring my emotions out to you. Does it get to a point where it's like, all right, this guy's got to figure his shit out?
No. So I think there's a difference between emotional availability and oversharing.
Okay.
I think that there has to be boundaries on a first date. I don't think that it's appropriate to overshare on a first date, especially when you're first getting to know somebody. I think that probably could be intimidating to overshare for both parties.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, right? Like completely pouring your heart out. Yeah.
I've actually probably never had the experience for someone to overshare, and I'm definitely not an oversharer. So
Yeah,
I don't know if I've been in that situation, but I don't think you can be too emotionally aware. I think that could only be a good thing, is to be self-aware, emotionally aware.
I like that. You can't, I think I think what I'm trying to understand is, women use this term, hey, we want an emotionally available guy. And I'm trying to think, why as men are we so reluctant to go to that spot and redefining what it means to a man to be emotionally available. And I think it's this might sound interesting, but I think it's a very masculine thing actually, because you're willing to look at typically female qualities of, hey, these are my emotions, right? As men, we probably don't talk a lot about emotions.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think we have to change that narrative of like, this is part of being a human being, right? It's not being a man or being a woman. It's part of actually navigating the human experience, right? Like we're going to feel
100%.
things, right? We're going to feel things. And I think if we are courageous enough to actually talk about what we're feeling as men, especially to our woman, it sounds like from your perspective, that's a very attractive thing to do.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that unfortunately society has placed one separation between men and women. And women society views women as maybe more emotionally intelligent and emotionally aware, maybe just straight up more emotional beings. And then also society tells men that, to your point, it's weak to be vulnerable. And I think that is changing a little bit. I think that there's a big rise in awareness to mental health, both for men and women. But still, I think that because of how society treats men and tells men that it's weak or it is invaluable to be emotionally aware, there's a lack of relationship, like what I don't even know how to say, like there's a lack of development in relationships, I guess, or there's I guess in my experience, men want to prove themselves in the way society tells them that they're worthy. Make money, prove themselves at work, develop higher rankings at work before developing a relationship or before getting married and settling down. And women usually are typically ready before that. And I think, I don't know, I think there's an age gap, obviously. Like men are a little bit older when they're ready to settle down, and women are obviously a little bit younger. And I don't know if that has to do with emotional awareness or emotional intelligence, but it is sometimes unfortunate because it doesn't really just have to be that way, you know?
Do you think, so I think to your point, I agree with that, how I think men mature emotionally slower than women. And it makes me think about, is that the reason why women typically want a guy older?
It's hard for me to speak for other women, honestly, because I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like I want an older man. I don't feel that they're much more mature, to be honest with you. I've dated men that are 35 and just as immature. Like, I don't know. And like, I've dated 26-year-olds who are more mature. It really does depend on the individual. I feel like it's just so unfortunate that men and women are still so separated, and we can't all just be like, oh, we're all human beings, we all feel things, and relationships are normal, and like human connection is natural and needed, and we all need human connection. And I feel like a big component of that is communication and communicating through things, which is something I feel like I kind of learned later on. Everyone has boundaries, everyone has values, and I feel like not everyone is willing to kind of communicate through that. I feel like people have become more, not just short-tempered, but they see one thing that they don't like and they're like, you're not worthy of my time, or I deserve better. And it shouldn't be like that.
I feel like a lot of that has to do with social media.
It does.
Right?
I really think so too.
As you're walking me through that, I'm like, we have social media. I feel like every single podcast that I'm going to do, if somehow social media is going to get intertwined into it. I feel like social media, because of the amount of accessibility that we have to people, and this is something that I've honestly struggled with when it comes to relationships, is you're with somebody and then on Instagram, or you go to the beach and you see somebody who's like a little bit more attractive than that person.
Yeah.
Right? And you're just kind of like, oh, that's out there. And it's like sitting in the back of my head where it's like, well, hold on, Deej, right? You have, like, you're with this person right now and you have to like battle this. I don't know if this is a male thing, right?
Yeah.
Right? So I think, what are your thoughts about how social media has influenced our ability to be in relationships?
I definitely see that. I feel like men always gravitate towards the next best thing, or don't even want to commit because there's always that next best option. I can't personally say that like those are why my relationships didn't work out. My last relationship, that's not why that relationship ended, and the one before that, that's not. The one before that, it was a fine relationship. It just didn't work out. But my friends, I've seen that play out because, he wanted, he moved on to a new
Someone else.
And someone else, a new girl. There's just a new girl, and it's like, that's tough to see. It's like there's no loyalty. And you know what? Everything happens for a reason. At the end of the day, everything happens for a reason. But it is unfortunate to see that people can't work things out or like create connections because of social media, or like my mind goes to like someone else, or like, oh, I can have this guy because, or this girl. Like, that's so sad and so unfortunate. It's very frustrating.
It's very like surface level.
It is.
Right? Which is tough. Because
it's like, why are you basing this idea? It's like, they're all ideas. It's like, oh, I can have this person because she's beautiful. It's like, well, that's a fantasy, and that's an idea that you've created in your head when you have this amazing individual in front of you. And it's sad because did you get to know that person? Just theoretically speaking, like, if, let's say we're dating and we were dating for a year, like, and you have gotten to know me over the last year, and then you are infatuated with this coworker that you had met a week ago.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be fucking pissed.
Yeah.
I'd be fucking pissed that you moved on to this new girl because she's beautiful. But like, you should know me, like, for who I am as a person, and like, that doesn't mean enough to you. Like, that's upsetting. And like, you see that all the time now.
That is a fantastic example, because I feel like that has happened. That is so easily relatable, where you're in a relationship with somebody for, let's say, years, right? And then you have this person who you see and they're like, ooh, that's interesting. There's a new little toy over there, right? Like, what are they like, right? And I get it, right? Because use the example of you and me together, right? We're familiar with each other,
Yeah.
right? And it's that new thing that on the surface looks great,
Yeah.
right? And I always think about if you're in like a bar and you see somebody across the bar who you're attracted to, it's only based upon physical attraction. You have no idea what their personality is like. You have no idea if they're a serial killer. You have no idea if they're absolutely insane. Yet I could be attracted to that person just based upon the way they physically look. So I think about how important the physical appearance of people is and how quickly we can jump to that and then start to actually figure out who they are.
Yeah.
Right? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. There's so many things that are important in a relationship aside from physical attraction. Like, don't get me wrong, that's important. And initial attraction is very important. But at the end of the day, that's not what keeps a relationship together.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
That makes me think I'm so excited to ask you this question because this topic fires me up. Are you attracted to guys with a dad bod?
With a dad bod.
Oh my God, please tell me you're not.
It depends, I guess. Typically, no.
Okay.
Typically, no. Probably not.
Probably not. Well, because, so here's the thing that like I'm curious about is, say you see a guy who is shredded, six pack, chest, arms, everything. And then you see a guy next to him who's a little fluffier.
Like how fluffy
Like,
though?
just like a little fluffier, all right?
Like, do they have a nice chest and nice arms?
Barely.
Then, okay.
Barely, like to the point where you're like, nah, like you just don't quite know yet, right? Do you look at the guy who is in great shape and say, oh, he's full of himself, right? He's not gonna have any time for me. And do you look at the guy who's a little fluffier and say, I like him because I feel like he isn't all into himself and I'd rather have a little bit of time. He probably has a little bit more time for me.
No, what? No.
No?
No.
You look at the guy who's shredded?
Yeah. But also, like, I don't like bodybuilders, like, too big. Like, I need, like, a happy medium.
Okay. All right, so there's a tipping point, right?
There is,
There's a tipping point.
Like, dad bod. Dad bod's, like, not a nice term, I feel like.
You can use fluffy.
Fluffy's not nice.
Oh, they're like a little pillow over there.
Just happy medium. Like,
Happy medium. Okay.
Like, abs, love that. Need that. But
so
like
you
work
want
out, like
the
you
abs.
need like if you're working out, I prefer that. Is what I'll say. Like, I prefer someone who works out.
I mean, like, does it tell you something about him?
That you work out.
Right, like on like a deeper level.
I mean, that you care about your physical presentation and like your health, which matters.
So the reason that I asked that is because I saw this picture once. It was just of like a six pack. And it was literally just like a six pack. And it said, if you have a six pack, I already know 10 things about you. And it was like, you're disciplined, you have a certain diet, you exercise.
Where was this?
It was on like Facebook or something. It might have been, actually, I think it was on a podcast. And then I actually created a post with that's what it was. I created a post with the abs and said, because I loved it, because the guys were like, if you have abs, if you have a six pack abs, I can already tell about 5 to 10 things about you.
Okay.
And so I was like, I completely agree with that because it's not that easy to get a six pack, right? You have to eat a certain way, you have to do certain things. And so I actually made the post. I just literally put a six pack. I was like, if you have a six pack, I know 10 things about you, like right off the bat, right? And I think that's the same when it comes to women personally who are in good shape. It's like, I know that you're taking care of yourself. And as me looking for a potential mate, that's important to me.
But that's not your type.
Who are like in shape though.
I thought no, it's not.
I like girls who are in shape.
Fluffy.
I do not want a fluffy girl. Fluffy's a term that's only for Fluffy's a term that's only for guys who think the dad bod's attractive. Because like, I've had battles with guys who are like, nah, dude, chicks like the dad bod, and I'm like, bro, fuck off.
Some
Like, no,
do.
they like.
Yeah.
I would say this: the wrong girls might like the dad bod.
It depends on the dad bod. Like if you have like a nice chest with like no abs, but like they're underneath there.
They're hiding.
They're like acceptable-ish, like nice shoulders and like nice arms, acceptable.
Okay.
And like, I mean, you can't be like a total slob, obviously, but like I know you take care of yourself. Yes, acceptable. And like,
all right, so
can't post like all that.
Our
Right?
our conclusion to this is the dad bod isn't horrible, but you have to have a little bit of a build.
You have to have a build. Yes.
You have to have a build.
Yeah, you have to have a build. You
have
can't
to-
be like chunky.
Super fluffy.
No fluff.
Okay, no fluff. All right. I wanna steer over to a little bit of stress and anxiety.
Okay.
I feel like
Love
this is
that.
a conversation that you and I
Yeah,
have had
facts.
just 1,000 times
Big ball
over
of stress and
over
anxiety.
tacos and documentaries.
Yeah.
So, what stresses girls out the most? Women out the most?
Oh yeah, I remember looking at this question and being like, I can't answer this for every female out there because we're all
Everybody's
different,
different?
all individuals. Like
What do you think?
I'm
stresses
thinking
girls
about
out
like
the
my
most?
sister and like
Yeah,
my friend
like
Emily,
friends,
like
right?
all so different. But like, are we talking in terms of like relationships and stuff, or
No, I
just
don't
in
think
general?
I don't think it has to be relationship wise. I'm curious about like, is there something that stresses women out that guys would be like, wow, I didn't really even think of that. So then like we can be more aware of it.
Okay. Again, I can't speak for everyone, but I think maybe I can say for most, like not being heard. Like, yeah, you're listening, but you're not really hearing and acting upon what I'm saying. Like, if I'm saying something is bothering me and you're not helping me come to a solution, or we're not coming to middle ground and communicating through something, yeah, that's fucking annoying and that's stressful. Like, I can use my last relationship as an example. We would communicate about the same problems. Like I would just bring it up over and over again, like, and I sounded like a broken record. And like, I'm not trying to nag. I'm not trying to be a fucking like, those are boundaries that are being violated. And if you are saying that you're going to make a change, then you need to make a change. But if you're unwilling to, then you need to also verbalize that. Like if that is a non-negotiable for you, then you need to let me know that. Like don't just humor me. Like it's simply okay if you're not willing to change something about yourself because it's a non-negotiable for you. We may come to terms and be like, okay, this isn't working out, but at the end of the day, we both need to do what's best for us. And that bugged the shit out of me in my last relationship because we just go back and forth over the same fucking problems. And I think it was fucking cleanliness to give an example, like the way it was my first time living with a man.
Oh, that's got to be an experience.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a friend a couple of days ago about that, and she was like, there are things like when you move in with somebody that you both aren't expecting.
Yeah.
To like it's something maybe that you do that you're okay with that they don't like.
Right.
And I was like, you know what would be interesting is to try to get in front of all of that before moving in and saying like, hey, here's what my average day looks like. And here's what my morning routine looks like and my nighttime. And have them be like, ooh, I'm not a huge fan of that. Be like, all right, like let's get in front of this before we start clawing each other's eyes out.
Yeah.
Yet that's also coming from a guy who's never lived with a female. right? Who live with women. So I lived with my mom and sister growing up, but I don't think that counts. So I do think that women not being heard is something that I'm learning a lot more about, because I've had some really good conversations with my mom about this. And I think there is something that has to do with a guy's ego. And maybe even the way that we're biologically wired. like let's blame evolution here. I think as men, there's this great video that we send out to it's our corporate clients who we're working with, and it's this video of this woman, and she has a nail in her head. Or it's not a real nail. It's not a real nail. It's like right in the middle of her forehead, and she's talking to her boyfriend or her husband, and she's basically saying like, "Oh man, I feel like I'm under so much pressure. All my sweaters are getting snagged," and like the problem is very obvious, and the guy is like, "You have a nail in your head. Like you have to take the nail out," and she's like, "You just won't listen to me." And she basically, it keeps reiterating the fact that he's trying to solve the problem, right? He's trying to overpower her, right? And all she wants him to do is just sit there and listen. And so I send this video out, and it's great because when we were doing this with our corporate clients, let's say you have 4 women and 4 guys in a group.
Yeah.
The women would say, "Oh my gosh, that video was awesome." Right? They're like, I watched it with my husband, and then all the guys are like, "I didn't get it." And I'm like, "Oh, here's the problem." I'm like, we completely outlined the problem, right? And I tell guys a lot, I say, there's a difference between listening to actually hear them and listening to respond, right? And I think you can become a more attractive man if you really actively listen. And don't always try to solve the problem. And Simon Sinek has a great term for this. He says, sitting in the mud with them. Just sit there with them and listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
You don't have to solve the problem.
I think that's great advice. I think even myself, like, I don't think you have to even differentiate between male and female. Even myself, I'm a problem solver. Like, when someone comes to me with a problem, immediately I would want to help them fix it. And when I started going to therapy, one of the pieces of advice that my therapist had offered me was to first ask them, "Do you want me to listen, or do you want my advice?" And from that moment, I was like, because I was truly getting so burnt out from trying to come up with solutions for people's problems, that I couldn't solve some of my own problems, or that I would solve them at the last minute. But no, I think that's great advice. Like, sometimes we just need people to listen to our problems, to vent and get it off our chest. And that does more than people trying to offer up solutions. I think most of us are very capable human beings and can figure our way out of the small, big, whatever problems that we have. And if not, then we'll ask for help.
Yeah.
Or we should be empowered to do so. But yeah, listening goes a long way.
I think there's something to giving people space to get what's in their mind or on their chest, off of their chest or out of their mind, and allowing them the opportunity to just get it out into the world. Because sometimes I think we feel like we're suffering alone a little, and it's nice to have a friend or have a partner, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, who will give you that feeling and will give you that space, right? And I think that's kind of hard to find sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think to your point, I think we all are wired to try and solve things, because like when we see a problem, I think we're naturally like, oh, we should solve this. Right? When really there's some value to whoever's attached to the problem, letting them talk it out.
Yeah.
Right? And letting them get it off their chest a little bit.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, so guys, if you're listening to this, give women the space to be heard. Maybe that's all they really need.
That's it.
Seems so simple. Why can't we do that? So, all right, now I want to get into, this is going to sound weird, nice guys and bad guys. So,
Nice guys and bad guys.
my good buddy, I have a good friend of mine. We have a saying that says, I'd rather look like a douchebag and be a nice guy than be a douchebag and look like a nice guy.
Oh, who's that?
I'm not going to tell you who. I'm not going to tell you.
You shall not be named.
I'm not going to tell you who it is, but basically the premise is I'd rather look a little edgy and be a good guy
Okay.
than actually be a jerk or a douchebag and look like this nice, soft, fluffy guy.
Okay.
Right? Like, and this is where it comes back to like, have a little appearance about you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have some energy, have some confidence.
Yeah.
And be kind.
Yeah.
Be kind man. So do girls like nice guys or bad guys?
Girls like nice guys. This girl over here likes nice guys. But I think many of us have a habit of gravitating towards bad guys. And I think that has a lot to do with trauma responses, patterns, previous unhealthy relationships. And it just takes a lot of hard work to break cycles and break patterns to find the match for you and the nice guy.
So I have my own theory about this. If you think about quote unquote a bad guy or a bad boy, typically they're very confident in who they are
Okay.
on the surface,
All right.
right? So they give off this presentation of I do what I want, I make my own rules, I'm my own man type of thing, right? And maybe below the surface, they're struggling with something that they don't fully understand yet, right? Or maybe they do understand and they don't really want to talk about it yet. I think nice guys give off a fact of, hey, I want to be kind so I'm accepted. And so that might come off as he isn't confident about himself. Because I think about like the guys in high school who were like getting in trouble, who were in school suspension. Those are the guys who got all the girls. And I was like a good student. I was a good guy. And I was always like, do I need to be a dick for like girls to really like me? And I never fully understood it until I understood more about confidence and what it meant to be confident in who you are. And I think as men, we can still be confident in who we are and live by a certain code, have certain values, and be kind.
Yeah. But, well, first of all, that was high school.
Which I feel like a lot of people have that same like experience.
True. I know those you're coaching are younger, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I understand. But so if we're speaking to those men,
Yeah.
those who are in detention, getting bad grades, skipping class, skipping school, the girls that they're attracting aren't the girls that they want to be dating anyways. They don't have their head on their shoulders the right way. They are probably also skipping school, not getting good grades, not thinking about college, and thinking about drugs, sex.
Yeah.
Like at work, I work in a pediatric ICU. So I see 18 years and less. So I see a lot of kids who come in with overdose, suicide attempt. A lot of kids are depressed, talking about, oh, I tried killing myself because my boyfriend dumped me. Like, these are not the mindsets that these kids should be having. Like, we should be having kids who are thinking about being a kid, doing good in school. And this is so much more common, I would say, the last year and a half than it was when I first started my nursing career. There's been a huge shift in mindset. Social media. asking for their phone as soon as mind you, I work with critically ill patients. So once they're waking up, or I'll just leave it, once they're waking up, asking for their phones, getting on social media, texting their friends, posting TikToks and shit. I'm like, you are really sick.
Like mentally.
Mentally, physically, like all of the above. Like, this is not what, like, you're not in school right now. Do you want to, maybe we could talk about schoolwork? Like, I'll help you with your schoolwork. Or what do you like to do? Do you have hobbies? Are you in sports? What do your friends do? Drugs. A lot of gunshot wounds. Like, a lot of gang violence. I know I just went on a whole rampage. I don't even know what the question was at this point, but those aren't the men and women or young adults that should be attracting one another.
Yeah. I feel like too, it's in high school, we fall in love with a short-term idea versus when you probably, as you get older into your 20s, late teens, early 20s, late 20s, you then start to think a little bit long-term, like, would I want to build a life with this person? Would I want to have a family with this person? And I was on a podcast last week, and the guy who was interviewing me asked me why young men are so soft in this day and age. And I said, I think a lot of it has to do with they've grown up with a phone in their hand, and they had access to social media at probably a very, right. I'm 29. I got Instagram when I was a junior in college, sophomore, junior in college. So I was 20 years old, 21 years old. So think about getting Instagram when you're like in your early teens.
Yeah.
And having it for years, and maybe even earlier, right? Like when you actually get a smartphone. Because my first phone was just a flip phone.
Same.
Right?
Little Razor.
Right. Little, I had like a Pantech. And so I said, I think they're just exposed to so much more convenience and so much more attraction, so much more, hey, you can do this job and make 50 grand a month from your basement. It's like, geez, why do I even need to go to college? Why do I even need to put effort into things? I think right now, as young men, we're in, and maybe this is just as a society for younger individuals, I think we're in an effort crisis. I think we've lost the art of giving effort towards something.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's why, great example, you see somebody with a six pack, you know that they know how to put effort towards something. Right? So then I would say, they know how to put effort towards something. I wonder if they'd put effort towards a relationship with me. Right? So like those little things. So like, what are your thoughts about that?
For one, I don't know what the term soft means.
Well, it's funny when you said that, in my head I was like, see, everybody has their own definition of what that means.
Because I mean, I can assume, I can make an assumption, but I just would probably disagree. I don't know that I would say that the younger generation of men are soft. I would say that they're probably more hard.
What an interesting way to put it there, Kimmy.
Some of them are brutal. I mean, like I just said, that there's a lot of, I mean, and mind you, we live in Florida.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's different in other states and different places. I guess I'm like a little isolated.
Hey, we're fellow Rochesterians, though, right?
You know, and it's probably worse over there, honestly. But like a lot of gun violence and like gang violence, and the way that they talk to girls is straight up fucking brutal. Like, I was talking to one of the teenage girls on my unit, and he had cheated on this poor girl, and she had gotten a bunch of STDs. I'm like, girl, block his fucking number. We're done. We're done. We're done. And it's just nasty the way they communicate with one another. It's just like, I don't care. Like, you are nothing to me. It's like savage. And I don't remember growing up like that. like men
Yeah.
talking to me that way. And like, I don't know.
See, so this is so interesting because the way that you just described the way that these young men treat those women, I would associate that with being soft. I associate that with you are not being a good man to that woman. And frankly, it's probably based upon the way we were raised, right? It's probably based upon the influences that we allowed into our mind. That's why like social media, right? If guys see, hey, this is how you treat women, this is, money and cars and fame, it's all about status, women might be 5 on that, 5 down on that pole.
Yeah.
Right? So I think about like the way that I saw my father treat my mother, right? And it's like he treated her with kindness, he treated her with love, right? And so then I grow up thinking, okay, I treat women with kindness and love. That's how I talk. That's how I protect, I provide, and I communicate, and I lead as a man. Is this younger generation missing that?
Yeah, and I think even some in our generation too, but like I think men as evolved as you are hard to come by. Like not a lot of men think like that. So you calling them soft is because, or at least it's my opinion, because you're emotionally evolved, intellectually evolved. And so I think there's larger groups of men and even women. I'm not just saying men, because there's a lot of women that have become hard as a result, or vice versa. Because even women now, I feel like traumatize men. It's like it's a vicious cycle. I don't think it's just as a result of men traumatizing women. I think women also play a part in traumatizing men. I think it's just a vicious cycle, to be honest with you.
It's like we don't want to just get hurt.
It is.
Right?
It is
We're
that.
just constantly trying to protect ourselves. And it's almost like if we protect ourselves so much, we're never actually gonna. It's kind of coming full circle to what we talked about in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. Like at some point, we have to really show people who we are. And I think we get afraid that if I really show you who I am, you might not love me. Right? Because like I've done things in my past that I'm like, fuck, I wish I didn't do that. Right? I wish I would have been a little bit kinder to that girl. I wish I would have said that to my friend. Right? And it's like, it's the fact that I'm willing to be honest about that I think the right people will respect.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's nothing more rewarding than finding or taking that risk to find the person that you could have, one, a genuine connection with, but also that person that you understand and that understands you. And you just have a genuine soul connection with, personal connection, and you guys just match.
Yeah.
Like, yes, that's risky. And yes, you have to open your heart up to 1, 2, however many people to find that person. But think about how rewarding that could be to find someone that is maybe the love of your life and that you just connect with so deeply that no one could understand you or love you better than that other individual. I think that's worth all of the risk.
What a beautiful way to conclude the episode.
I love that.
So I think that's so right. Okay. I think it's worth it. Right? It's worth getting beat up a little along the way and learning some things and finding the right person to be yourself with. And they'll love you for all the flaws, the insecurities.
Exactly.
Right?
That's the best part.
That's the best part,
That's
right?
the best part. You get to be 100% yourself. And I think even me now as a 29-year-old woman who's had my share of relationships and had my share of traumatic relationships, I look forward to meeting that person and being like, okay, that shit was so worth it because I found this person. And none of that will matter one day. I'll be like, okay.
Sometimes I heard a saying a couple days ago that I've really been thinking about. The more attempts we give, the more failures we have, the more successes we experience. Mm-hmm. Like, we have to give it a try.
Yeah.
So
you gotta fall down and get back up.
Gotta fall down and get
yeah,
back
you
up.
gotta.
All right, Kay, I want to ask you one last question.
All right.
What is one thing that guys can do today to be that guy?
Be that guy.
Be that guy. That's what we call our
Be
coaching
that guy.
program for young men. It's called Be
Oh
That
my
Guy.
gosh. One thing guys can do to be that guy.
Be that guy.
I think I have to like tread on the same path we've been going on and just be yourself. Be yourself. Otherwise, if you're trying to be like everyone else or be someone you're not, you're never going to find your right path. You're never going to find the pack you're supposed to, kind of vibe with, the person you're supposed to be with. Whatever's meant for you, as long as you're yourself, you're going to find it. Careers, people, life path stuff, Be yourself and you'll find your way.
Well, there it is, gentlemen. Be yourself and you'll attract the right person and the right people into your life.
Yes, exactly. That's for everyone.
That's for everyone. Kailey, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate you as a friend. I'm really glad that we connected here in Tampa from fellow Rochester Times. And I really appreciate our conversations that we have. I think they're awesome.
All right, buddy. See you later for tacos.
Yeah. See ya.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you got something useful or something entertaining from today's episode, all I ask is that you give us a like or a rating or even write a review. This helps a ton with getting this podcast out to other young guys so they can hear this information. Thank you so much for all of your support and keep being that guy. We'll see you guys.